Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm very excited to have Christina Rusnak here. You know, it's funny how I get to introduce and get meet different composers. I actually met her through Betty Wishart through a group called Alignable online, and it's just a joy to meet her. We've spent some time together talking about her music. She's got so much music on SoundCloud. You could spend days, hours, weeks listening to it. And so, welcome, Christina. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm just loving it. In fact, I am going to read up a little bit of your bio. I can't read all of it. It's just an amazing. There's so much stuff to read, but I'll read some of it and introduce you that way. And of course, we'll talk more about your whole life journey as we go along. Originally from an old St. Louis beer family, we have to talk more about that. Miss Rusnak began composing at age 9. She earned her master's degree in composition and arts leadership at the University of North Texas in 2010 and moved to Portland, Oregon in 2012. Ms. Rusnak composes for diverse instrumentations with lyrical lines and organic rhythms and textures. Her repertoire includes chamber ensemble, orchestra, wind band, jazz, choral, and solo pieces, as well as electroacoustic works and film. She understands how artists can experience and interpret the world we live in. Her choral work, Liberty's Light, examines immigration from Ellis Island to the Texas border. Water and Stone explores climate and the impact of water, heat, and cold in sculpting Death Valley National Park. From the Sidewalk addresses the invisibility of a homeless woman in New York City. And in 2020, Rusnak was commissioned Fanfare for Justice, also called Call for Justice, to commemorate the Black Lives Matter movement. Ms. Rusnak has served as sound art curator for the Dallas Contemporary Art Museum, as executive director for Orchestra 2001 in Philadelphia, and currently serves as president of the International Alliance for Women in Music. Her essays on music and advocacy can be found on landscapemusic.org, New Music Box, and the Journal of IAWM. Scores are available through her website, christinarusnak.com, and distributors, and many are on ISSUU. And to listen to her music, you can go to the YouTube channel and also Spotify. Thank you, Christina, for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the introduction.
Sure. Now, tell us a little bit about your life. Being coming from a beer company family, does that mean that you learned how to microbrew beer at a young age?
No, 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 no. I actually own the recipes. I had
Oh, you
thought
do?
about, yeah, I do,
Uh-huh.
inherited. I thought about doing contract brewing, but if I didn't have to sleep, then I could compose and run a beer company. But no,
Yes.
that it doesn't work that way. I have to sleep, so I chose to, focus on composition.
Oh my God, that's great. So, how did you get? Now, was your family into music at all? Like, was your mother a pianist or anything like that?
Oh no, my mother's a vocalist. She's perfect pitch, extremely, extremely talented. And
Wow.
she would started dragging me to the symphony and to the ballet and to everything else from the time I was about 4. And I did the same thing with my son
That's
growing up
wonderful.
when
That's
he was
wonderful.
growing up. I've actually been to see John Cage when I was a kid.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. So she had very eclectic tastes, but
Hmm.
all she liked the new music of her time, and I didn't really appreciate it
I'm so
until,
sorry about that. I'm kidding.
yeah, but I didn't appreciate how eclectic her tastes and her were until she died. I inherited her record collection. I'm like,
Oh,
wow,
wow.
wow, wow.
That's great. Now, when she's a vocalist, did she sing professionally or in a church?
No, she was, I grew up in church choir. She was a
Yes.
leading vocalist in the church choir. She was a librarian. She was a music librarian. That was her
Yeah.
profession.
And perfect pitch. That's
And
amazing. So she could look at notes and just sing them exactly, right?
oh yeah,
That is
oh
such a
yeah.
skill. I wish I had that. First of all, I wish I could sing. Secondly, on pitch, as my wife will tell you when we go to church, it's not fun. But anyway, so let's start with. So tell me a bit more about. So you started piano lessons obviously pretty young, I imagine,
Mhm.
because you were composing by 9. When did you actually start tinkling on the piano?
7.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and to be honest, I was not a very good student because I was always trying to interpret. I would I love Mendelssohn, I love Bartok. I would take pieces and kind of take them to what if, um,
Yes.
or, different tempos, or I would play with them and no, 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 that's not how it goes. So I was not actually a wonderful student, but I made it through all the way through college,
Yeah,
so I got through. I did all my required,
that's
but
wonderful. And when did you decide that you were going to dedicate your life to music? That's a big decision.
you get interrupted. Life happens, right?
Yeah.
So I had decided when I was 14 years old, and
Mm.
um, I just knew,
Wow.
and that's when I started performing,
Hmm.
and performing my work, usually in like piano recitals and at school events, etc. So when other kids were writing poems about Beowulf or reports, I was writing songs about
And
Beowulf.
you actually performed these publicly at the age of
Hmm.
14. Oh, that's
Hmm.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
But then life interrupted, and I ended up with a business degree, and then in my 30s went back to school. And
Mm.
as you said, I finished from my graduate studies from University of North Texas in 2010.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So let's talk about this first song we're going to play. This is called Cloudburst, and obviously it's got to do with the sounds of nature. And but give us a little context on that before we play, would you?
It was it was just as I was starting back to school, and in Texas, the rainstorms, as we've all seen on the news lately, can be ferocious.
Oh yeah,
And so just sitting through them, you could sit on your porch and just watch them move through. In fact, in March, I was in for a conference in Fort Worth, and I was sitting in the hotel just watching the storms just
mm,
move across, with all the lightning and everything. And it was really from the beginning. You could see the beginning of those storms, and you can hear the beginning of those storms, and the wind and the howling and the thunder, and then they dissipate, they move on, and they go away.
yeah. And so, in fact, this starts out very quietly,
Hmm.
and then you'll hear, you'll hear rain
Hmm.
and other things. Now, so when you don't have, do you have perfect pitch too?
No, I do not.
Yeah,
I have good relative pitch, but no, I don't. Thank you. I don't have perfect pitch.
yeah, because I have to tell you, I'm really so impressed with that you captured these nature sounds so well. And it's funny because sometimes my wife doesn't know how I do this, but I'll be listening. I'll close the door and it'll be a little squeaking, and I'll be going, and she's, what are you doing? And I'm just repeating those notes and making a little melody out of it because there's so much melody around us that I think many people don't notice. And the fact that you've able to,
Oh, yeah, inherent. I mean, you go outside and there's, whether it's the squirrels or the leaves breezing, in the
yeah.
breeze, or it's all around.
Now I notice this is the Kiev Philharmonic, Prague New Radio Symphony. So this is, you had this done, this is overseas, obviously. How did you go about doing
Yeah.
that? That's wonderful.
That it's just one of those opportunities. There are those who say there are calls and 300, 1,000 people apply to them, and it's a numbers game. You shouldn't waste your time. Sometimes you get lucky,
That's wonderful.
and this was selected. So,
Congratulations. It's great. Now, this next one is just a little bit of an excerpt. I just wanted to include it. Um, it's kind of, it's another whole genre for you. It's jazz. And I think there was a story about how you came across the idea of this when you were traveling.
oh yeah. So, just to give a little background, I love jazz, and I
Mm,
noodle around and I create my jazz pieces quite a bit differently than I do my classical pieces. But I'm not trained as a jazz arranger, so this is a product of a 1 plus 1 equals 5. So arranger Dave Richards, I went to school with him. We knew each other really well. And I said, I've got this piece. I think it's really good.
mm.
You want to do the arrangement for it. He was a member of the 1 o'clock lab band in University of North Texas. He goes, sure. So he did the arrangement for it, but it is very, very close to my piano vocal track.
Mm.
He just, put it out for 17 or 10 piece big band.
Oh, I
But then
love
we
that.
were in for a birthday of my husband's, a significant birthday. We went to Paris. It was at Christmas time. And so we went to Paris for a week. And we were just sitting in a jazz bar, and there was a piano and a small trio and a woman singing. And I thought, this is so relaxing. Like, the woman on the piano, she wasn't on the piano, but, the idea of her singing in this very cool Parisian jazz bar. And I
Yeah.
felt so relaxed. It
Mm.
was just, because my husband will tell me, will you just chill? And so this is the epitome of that, being able to be somewhere and just chill, you
Yeah.
know.
Now, did
So,
you write like a lead sheet and give them chord structure, or did you actually map it all out with voices and everything?
oh, I actually wrote it out. I mean,
Yeah.
it was fully fleshed out, but
Yeah.
for piano, clarinet, bass,
Mm.
and then I said, oh, I think this should be fleshed out here or that should be fleshed out. So I had some of it in my head,
Yeah.
but there is a whole skill level in
Yes.
arranging jazz, and
Yes.
it's very different. So I knew in my head what I wanted, and
Mm.
but I wrote it out like classical. I mean, I didn't have the chord symbols or anything, but you could read it.
That's great.
but it's
That's great.
very pianistic, and I had all that, fully fleshed out for about 4.5 minutes.
I love it.
And then once you add the intro and the solos, it makes it considerably longer.
Yeah.
So it ended up about 8 minutes.
Well, we're just going to do a little taste of the end here.
Okay.
That's great.
Thank you.
Really.
I'm a mezzo soprano, but I can't hit that high note for that long, you know.
Oh,
But I can still, this is still something I sing and play to myself, you know,
oh wow. Now, do you
on a
ever sing
regular
professionally?
basis.
Do you sing some of
Oh
your
no, no, no.
pieces?
I mean,
Oh,
I'm a choral singer.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
have the stomach for being a soloist. I just was never really interested in that. But
yeah,
I do
yeah.
choral singing.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. So now this next piece is called Coal Creek, and I love the like if you click on it, I believe you have a photo here in your Spotify. Yeah, showing a scene from I guess in the Midwest someplace. Or you could tell us a little bit about the background on that one.
No, no, this is in Alaska,
Oh, is
along
it?
in
Oh,
Yukon Territory National Preserve.
oh, okay.
And the photos from permission from the National Park Service.
Hmm.
And so it's a gold dredge, and it started as a coal mining, and then that went belly up. And so in the early 20th century, it developed as a as a gold mining area
Hmm.
along the Yukon River. And we all know about the gold rush at the turn of the 20th century on the Yukon River. And so this was an extension of that. After panning, they invented these big dredges that could go through the rocks and go through it much more quickly and easily than people. And so it was the idea of life along it, because in the 1970s the endeavor stopped. Like, tools are still there, and it's part of the National Park Service.
Huh.
And so we had gone up there, you know, to work on music, and we went through this tour of this gold dredge, and we were up there at the camp for about 4 days in
Yeah.
the cabins that were built in the 1930s.
Wow. I
No
read something
fans.
interesting.
I mean, they
Uh,
just had fans, no air conditioning.
oh
There
no.
was a little camp kitchen,
Yeah.
it was very rustic.
I read something interesting. A lot of people that went out to the gold rush didn't actually make much money at it because they're panning and they weren't getting. The guys that made the money were the guys that sold the pans. So,
Yeah.
and all the
And
paraphernalia. And
the
of
food.
course yeah,
And the
and the big
food.
and the food and the big dredging companies, made the money actually. And of course, but it just built up all these towns out there, which is wonderful. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to play this now. This is called. We'll play this whole thing. It's called Cold Creek. And so, tell me about the inspiration for the music behind it. How did you come about putting it together? What was the inspiration for the melody, for example? If you could share that with us a little bit.
Well, before the melody is the sound of the mosquitoes. And
Ah,
you have to keep in mind that in central and in northern Alaska, mosquitoes are the pollinators. They don't have the
oh,
honeybees.
really? Wow.
So, yeah, and so they're the pollinators, and so they have lots because they go for flowers and people and everything else. So it was the beginning is the sound of just the mosquitoes, the
Mm,
constant sense of the mosquitoes. And then the dredge is the people is really the part of the bass clarinet, and the marimba is part of the water and the machinery. So it's all integrated.
yeah.
The people, the machinery, the water, the mosquitoes, it's just all integrated to really kind of convey the difficulty of their life
Mm,
there,
yeah.
making it through the winter and surviving through the winter, and working through it, and then until it just stopped.
Wow. Here we go. Cold Creek.
and the mosquitoes remain.
Did you see me waving around like this at one point? I really kind of felt like the mosquitoes are right there. That was great. And this is only two violins, bass clarinet, and marimba. That's the whole orchestration, right? That is amazing because it fills out so well. So when you're writing this, are you thinking about how to fill up all the different harmonic frequencies, or is there some some effort involved in trying to fill out the aural spectrum somehow, or how do you think about that?
It's it's funny. I'm sure your audience is full of composers, and so they can attest to the fact that, sometimes you really are like very detail oriented and think about it. This was a little bit less so in that it's not ambient music by any means, but I'm trying to convey the sense of being in a place and what it feels like to be in that place.
Yes.
And so that drove, instead of me intellectualizing what it was supposed to do to fill in those spaces, it was what does it feel like?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so every piece is different, and we approach pieces different based on what we decide we want to do with them. And I think that one, it was less about deciding how to do that rather than how does it feel and all these things working together and
Right.
these mechanisms and the overlapping. It just happened.
I can feel the industry part of it in the middle, and then at the end, the town wrapping up. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the whole history of it in one 7 minute piece. That's great. That's wonderful. Now, this next thing is also location centered, but this is called Glacier Blue. And there's actually how many movements in this one? I think four?
Three movements.
Three movements. Okay. And this is the mountain. This is the first movement. Do you want to give us a little background on this one now?
This one was a commission by Third Angle New Music, and it was for the 100th anniversary of the National Park Service.
Hmm.
So the year about this time, a little before that, I had worked with a cellist friend, and you know how these conversations go. Well, do you ever want to write something for me? Oh, of course I would. You want to commission me? Well, let me think about it. Those kind of things.
Right.
And he didn't get around to commissioning, but this other organization did.
Ah.
And so it's about Glacier National Park, and there's three movements: mountain, sky, and water.
Hmm.
And these are all things that appear blue. And mountain is like the purple mountain's majesty, except to me they were blue.
Hmm.
And I made two trips to Glacier to create this piece. And this is the first movement.
Oh, wonderful. I'd flown over Alaska at one point because I had a friend up there, and the glacial water is so blue. It's
Mhm.
just so amazingly blue that's it's really an experience that you wouldn't believe. So this is wonderful. This is called Glacier Blue. And let me set this up now.
So this is just cello solo. So it
I
was
love
15 minutes in total, all three movements.
love it. Wow.
That
You
was
know,
very influenced by the Going to the Sun Road. So,
uh, oh, I have to stop it. Sorry. You know, I played violin for about 12 years, and I was in the MIT Symphony Orchestra. We played at Carnegie Hall, and as soon as we were done, I packed up the violin case and never opened it again because I knew I would just never do anything better than Carnegie Hall. And my sister-in-law came a couple of years ago, and she rented a cello for a month, not having ever played any string instrument. And I thought, oh, I could probably pick this up. And I tried to. It's a very different. It's such a beautiful instrument, but I could not just pick it up and play it. It's so different than a violin, but
mhm.
it's a gorgeous instrument. I just and you really took advantage of all the different sonorities of it. It's just beautiful. Very nice. How do you know exactly how far or what a cello can do? Did you have to do some back and forth with him, or you just kind of know the range,
Um,
figure out what in there,
I'll
and
tell you what, I am a good student, good composition student. And so
ah,
what I do is I actively have lessons with
mm,
all the different instruments. You know,
mm,
doing um, when I'm doing a piece like this, I met not only with my friend, but I also met with the cellist of the person who, the ensemble that commissioned me.
nice. Yeah,
We just worked through things and I
yeah,
knew what sounds I wanted, well, how easily it is, like going up to that real high note.
yeah.
How easily is that for you? And how do I make it easy for you to read?
Right, right.
Because you know, composers can overcomplicate things.
Yes, yes. That's beautiful. Excellent. Now, these next few pieces are choral pieces, and this, of course, is called Deeply Departed. So, Dearly Departed, sorry.
It's
Um,
supposed to be dearly departed, yeah.
yeah, Dearly Departed. I misspelled it there. Okay, Dearly Departed. Obviously about someone passing. So tell us about that, would you?
Well, I had a recording opportunity for an ensemble in Havana, Cuba. And the piece is called Dearly Beloved. It's a wedding piece that I wrote for my
Mm.
son.
Ah.
And so then they said, well, should we do a companion piece, like a funeral piece? So I
Mm.
did I said, sure, I'll do that. And I did a lot of research. In the meantime, my neighbor next door, he died.
Uh-huh.
And then I had a friend whose wife died at age 41,
Oh my God.
suddenly,
Yes.
unexpectedly.
Mm.
And, seeing their families um, deal with that.
Yeah.
And so what I decided to do is, while we all know the liturgy for a marriage, there isn't very much liturgy for a funeral.
Mm.
And so I use the Episcopalian Book of Common Prayer, which is um, domain. It's free to
Yeah.
use. I used a little bit of that, but I also integrated the family's emotions and the family's thoughts and feelings into this.
Mm.
And that's very important. I did the same thing in Dearly Beloved. And this is a really unusual, and it's hard to get performed because it's for nine separate women's parts.
Oh wow. Mm.
Um, Four altos, four sopranos, and a mezzo who often is the soloist.
Mm.
So anyway, it's one of my favorite
Yeah. Now
pieces.
you have a picture associated with this, and is that where is that? Cuba? Yeah.
Oh no, that is actually in Montreal.
Oh,
And
it is. Okay.
it was just such a fitting image of the
Yes.
angel.
Oh my God. Yes. Here we go.
And yes, so I just found that, and I snapped it, and I took
Beautiful.
the picture myself. 90% of the
Oh,
pictures you see on my site I've taken.
well, good.
There's
And you gave
occasional.
yourself permission to use
Yeah, I gave myself permission to use this one.
All
So we're
right.
just going to hear a small part of this from
Oh, is that true?
yeah, I think Deeply Dearly Departed. I think we're going to hear from 336 to the end. Did we talk about that?
Yes, yes. And thank you for reminding me. Unfortunately, I had this all queued up and it lost it all.
Yeah, about
Okay.
half of it. We'll listen to
Yeah.
about half of it.
Yeah. Very nice.
I don't know if you can understand the last of the words, sometimes when, the voices are. but at the end it says, "We are here because you lived."
Oh, wow.
Again, this one actually strikes me very emotionally,
Yeah.
and so this has been translated into Spanish. I worked with um, a native Cuban Spanish speaker,
Mm,
and I sent the scores back. I reworked them and sent them back to Cuba to this ensemble so
mm.
that they could perform it in the way it was intended for
Nice.
weddings and funerals. Um, you know, so it's in their own language. So
That's wonderful. Now, what's the Cuba connection? How did you make that connection in the first place?
oh, it's a long story. I don't need to
Oh,
go into
okay.
it, but
No, all
yes,
right. Yeah.
it's a long story, but
All right. That's
it
great.
was a wonderful experience.
Wonderful. Now, this next choral piece is called Liberty's Light. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, a lot of pieces I do, people go, "Oh, well," I hear some composers say, "I wouldn't even compose unless I was commissioned for it." Well, no, not my thing. I
Yeah.
write what I need to write, and sometimes commissions come along in between. And, a few years ago, with all the immigration talk, I took a piece that started with the poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty, and I
Yeah.
added 20 lines that brought
Oh.
it to the 21st century. And I
Mm,
try to use the same pacing, the metric elements of the poem.
mm,
And I really talked about what that poem does not tell you is why people come. But
mm,
if you go to Ellis Island, it tells you all about why people came and why people are still coming.
mm,
Um, and to be honest, this is a reading. Okay, this is a recording of just a reading.
mm.
It has never been performed because some people won't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Oh, no.
So I am now in our current environment, um, contacting choirs
Mm,
across the country and saying maybe it's time.
yeah.
Hopefully it will get some performances.
I hope so. No, we can't play all of it. We're going to play about 4 minutes of it. And
Okay.
so unfortunately, I staged these all and it's lost its place. So I have to go find it again. So
611, I think, is what we said.
yeah, exactly. So bear with me for a second.
So while the other one was a professional recording, this is just a reading.
There we
But
go.
I really like this.
already got goosebumps in that. That's just amazing. I got to
Thank
ask
you.
you, where can we where can we see the lyrics for the whole poem that you finished?
Oh, if you go to ISSUU,
Mm.
I have I have it all there.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I have to read that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, moving on. This is an orchestration now called Time After All, and we have time to listen to this whole piece. So tell us a little bit about that.
This is probably the most personal piece of mine.
Mm.
I've been really focused on, I work at the intersection of landscape and culture, and it's
Mm.
usually been about nature or the built environment. This one is more about the inner landscape. And so I was told in my 20s that I had a 50% chance of developing Alzheimer's
Oh
at an
my.
early age, early onset, like
Oh.
Ravel did at 52.
Oh.
Um, and my grandfather did at about the same age. And so I'm now past that. So yeah. And so it's really about that life and how you live that life with that, and they don't know. I mean, they're still learning. And so it
Dynamically
seems
stored, how
like
you
whether
do
it's
it. Yeah.
the gene or whatever,
Right.
I think I've missed it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just about that life, that inner
Wow.
life.
Yeah. Okay, with that context, I'm sure people will really appreciate this. Nice. I have to tell you, we could spend a whole hour just analyzing all the structure of that piece and everything going on. I kind of heard the sense of time with the ostinato in the beginning, and then this great crescendo. I kind of heard the relief, and then the joy of life. But I may be overinterpreting it, but be wonderful to spend some time with you and really talk about all the thoughts that went into the structure of this. And I have to admit, when I first heard it, I wasn't paying attention to the backstory. Now that I know that, I say, oh my God, it's so very impressive. So very moving. Thank you for that. I'm going
Thank
to
you.
ask my audience to give us a little more time because I'd like to. I know this other piece here is a video, The Forest and the Architect. It's actually a piece very dear to you. Let's give us a little background on this piece because I love the concept of it.
This was a commission, a group commission. It's for the Frederick Law Olmsted anniversary of his 200th anniversary of his birth. So it's the parks he created and the legacy he left. It's called Lungs of the City was the commission overall focus. And this was performed by Juventus New Music Ensemble in Boston.
Mm,
Um, and this was not the premiere of it. They have played it actually 4 times. And so I'm not sure which
okay.
performance this is.
And this is on
But
YouTube, so it might have a ad that comes in. We'll have to fix that in the archive. But otherwise, I'm sorry.
okay.
The more you wanted to say about it?
No. This is Forest Park in
Hmm.
uh, Portland, which is the largest urban forest in the United States.
Mm.
So it's a park I'm very familiar with on a weekly basis.
Oh, I love it. And this is wonderful because we could actually see the ensemble play it in front of us, which is just beautiful.
Okay.
Very nice. I love the way they all use iPads now. There's no more sheet music, and so
Yeah, I know.
it won't be too
Um,
long
it,
before they just have glasses and just, not even have anything in front of them.
it's interesting though. I used a different technique and I had to research it because you think it's conlego, but it's not. It's called chop notation and it comes from the bluegrass genre.
Really?
So yeah, it's a whole level of how to hit the bow with a string in different ways to get different effects. And so it was the first piece right now, so far the only piece that I've used that technique. It was very fun, very
Yeah.
fun.
So there's a special nomenclature for how to tell them how to use the bow, I imagine. There's special,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm,
Wow.
mhm.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, we're just going to play a little bit of this last piece, which is Life Across the Sea, and it's premiering on November 1st. So tell us more about that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Um, this was commissioned by Winona State University, and it's about, I got a grant from the state of Oregon because we have very different environmental laws than a lot of other places in the US.
Hmm.
And so, what influenced that? We have a very active indigenous culture here as well. So, between the indigenous culture and the Nordic people who came from, the Scandinavian countries and Finland, they really brought their environmental ethos with them.
Yeah.
And I think that has really influenced the environmental laws and policies that we have in the state of Oregon. Not just Oregon, you have Minnesota, you have other Washington, you have other states as well in
Yeah.
the upper Midwest, Northwest. So
Hmm.
that's what this is about. So this is a MIDI file because it's not been performed yet. And
Okay.
that's why we're just picking a little sliver to
Yeah.
to give you a preview
A
taste,
little
just a
taste of it.
couple minutes.
Okay. Wow. That's MIDI,
Yes.
huh? That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but it's for wind band, and so that the image on the for the cover is the from Sweden, from Visby, Sweden, where I had a residency
Oh,
for
nice.
in
How long were you
2020.
there?
I was there for 3 weeks. I was in
Oh, what?
Sweden entirely for 5 weeks, but I was in Visby for three.
Excellent. Very nice. Well, thank you for this wonderful introduction of the music that you write. I want to encourage people to go to YouTube and to Spotify, and there's hundreds of hours of music. I think it's just a lot of music out there to listen to. So very enjoyable. And now this premiere on 11/1, where's that going to be?
In Winona State University in
Okay.
Minnesota.
Okay, so you should all travel there and see this great performance. That's wonderful. Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you so much, Christina, for this great opportunity to learn about your music and your journey. And I look forward to hearing more of your music to come, and especially after that premiere. I assume at some point that'll be online. We can watch
Oh
it
yeah,
remotely. That's going to be wonderful. So thank
yeah,
you
you are.
again. Thank you,
Thank
everyone,
you.
so much.
Thank you very
I'm so
much.
glad that we were introduced by Betty Wishart, and wish you all a great night. Take care,
Okay, thank
everyone.
you so much.